keep up with anything outside of Rocket League. I used to be pretty into CS:GO, but I don't keep up with it near as much anymore. What about you guys?
Anything, Kilo?
Um, I don't have too much.
Yeah. The only other esport I really watch is CS:GO, especially, and the only events really that's been happening, and I'm not gonna talk about it too much, just because if nobody else has watched it, then not too much. But the Blast World Final happened. I think it was a couple days ago, and the team that won it was G2, who I mean they haven't really been performing as well as they had a lot of expectations with some of the best players in the world on their team, and they hadn't had a lot of tournament wins to back it up. But this is the first big tournament win for the team, so I think that they could do very well. But I mean, there was the Esports Game Awards, and I think that Elden Ring won it, right, for the Game of the Year. So that's
Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, that was. I haven't played Elden Ring, but I hear it's a pretty good game.
God of War
Got
should
it.
have taken it, in my opinion.
I think it's
What did
just
you say?
God
least
of War should have
original.
taken the trophy.
Yeah, that's also a pretty
I
good
don't
game.
disagree. Do the people that play Elden Ring like play Elden Ring? It's like
Yeah.
I mean, I say that as if like I don't only play Rocket League, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I just think they're weird, bro.
yeah,
Like, and it's like I think like G2 historically, as far as like their CS side, has been a really like top of the world team. And it's just I think it's just
yeah,
interesting to look at like orgs in general and how you have like an EU based org um, with these best in the world Counter Strike players, and then you have it as an NA team for Rocket League, who's been
yeah,
like so close to taking it all so many times, they just can't do it.
yeah. I mean, G2, especially in CS:GO, they first had a primarily French roster of French players, and then I think it was sometime in 2019, the end of 2019, they started transitioning into an international roster, which is what we've yet to see that in Rocket League, because these teams, I mean, we see it right now with Gen G, and this actually could be a big motivating thing where it's international rosters, where what we see with Rocket League is it's one team from one region speaking the same language, whether that be Portuguese, Spanish. They speak that one language and they go with it. But from what we see from CS:GO is that these players who come from different regions, especially G2, who has two Bosnian players, an Australian, a Dane from Denmark, and then a Russian. It really no clear cut. They all speak English, and it's just you build a giant super team, an international team, and you take trophies with it. Which I mean, that could be the direction that Rocket League is headed, which is very interesting.
I would be so excited to see that, to see because I think there's you could like cherry pick the best players from each region and just make an absolute super team. Like I think
Yeah,
if you combine like Yan with like two other just absolute
Batira.
monsters, Fatira and maybe like Daniel or something, dude. Could you
yeah.
imagine that team?
I mean, it all comes down to if they can speak English or not, because English is, of course, the language that is used. So if they're willing to either learn English or already speak English, or of course another language, I believe that Justin already speaks Spanish. So if he were to go to Furia, then he could have just spoke Spanish on that team. So it's just about if you can get one language to communicating clearly, and if it'll work or not. Because even if you have some of the best players in the world, you still might have different diverse playstyle because regions develop their own playstyle with a game. Because the EU gameplay is a lot different from the NA gameplay now, even the South American gameplay. So it's just about finding some clear common ground and then working off that to try and build a connection somehow, and then see how far you can take it.
Yeah, I think it definitely like depends like player based like for sure. Talking about like the language barrier, and then obviously like NA gameplay traditionally has been a lot more different than EU, and the same for Sam. But if you combine all those, if you can find a way to make it all work, I think that you'll end up with something really good. It's just I think if you don't have the pieces that fit right together, then it'll just never work. And it'll just be a mess. But if you can find a way to make that work right, that would be I think that'd be amazing. You have unlimited potential for what these teams can become. I think there's people from around the world that would work actually really well together, given the right circumstances. So
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool, man. I'd love to see esports as a whole like moving to that. But yeah.
I have an off topic question. Do you guys
Mhm.
feel like learning Rocket League helps you like learn a lot faster in other aspects of life? Like I feel like it becomes easier to learn something that isn't in Rocket League because you play a lot of Rocket League and you sit there like learning. You
I think
understand?
it's
Like
I think it has to do with anything that you put a lot of time and effort into. Because especially with Rocket League, I put in probably over 4,000 hours into Rocket League, and it hasn't been in one thing. It's been over time, and there's been times where you feel like you're not making any progress. There's been times where you feel like you made so much progress. There's been ups and downs, especially with it. So you learn to go through the process, which the process just happens with everything. And anything you try and learn to do that is new, you're gonna face circumstances and situations where you're not gonna feel like you're making progress at all. You're just stuck in the same spot. But if you stay consistent and you stay patient and constantly are trying to learn, then I
yeah,
do think that it can translate into other things, especially maybe IRL things besides gaming. But Rocket League definitely does teach you a lot of stuff. It taught me kind of just things how to communicate properly, how to work out well with others, because especially in Rocket League, you want to be able to be a clear communicator of problems and you want to be a sort of motivator and leader in and out of the game because you want your
yeah,
teammates, you want to give your teammates the best circumstances, so you don't want to be putting them down. You want to be constantly helping them through. Maybe they may make a mistake, things like that. So definitely some things
yeah.
you can take from Rocket League into your life.
I think
What
like that's a. I'm sorry.
one thing Rocket League hasn't helped me improve is my mental. I don't know what it is. I just cannot fix it. Like I've tried. It just I get too negative too fast. Like anything could upset me, and then I just cannot come back from it until like I chill out, chill in free play, watch a show while I play free play. Like yeah, it won't help with that. Guaranteed.
Yeah,
I think what one of the things that Benji touched on was like actually like really kind of important. If you think about like somebody who's put 4 or 5 thousand hours into Rocket League, obviously is in like the top 1 or 2% of people in the world who play the game, like traditionally. Um, but what's another thing that you've put 4 or 5 thousand hours of your life into, like learning and doing? Like
yeah,
I would venture that let's say you played like football growing up as a kid and you played from like little league all the way through high school, I would venture to say that you probably still have not spent 5,000 hours playing football. Like through all the practices and games, you might maybe be at that point. But like then like what is football to you at that point? It's synonymous to what Rocket League is to you, like 5,000 hours in, you know.
yeah,
But I think there's very few things that the people who take, you know, like Rocket League or any other competitive esport like seriously, there's very few things that I think compare to that. um, Obviously it's vastly different than a lot of other things that you could compare it to, but I
I
mean
think art, like if
mhm.
you spend the same amount of hours you put in Rocket League and you make it like into art, drawing and stuff, like eventually you will get better. Like I don't know anything about art, but I'm just assuming that would help
You
you.
struggle to draw stick figures. I don't know that I can.
Oh yeah,
I
I
feel like
same bro.
I could do like 5,000 hours worth of drawing and I'd still end up
I
with
can't even
stick
do a
figures.
straight stick. Like it will not be straight.
Dude, that's just one of those things. Like I don't have I don't want to say I don't have a creative mind, but like I have the ideas. I just like
I know, right?
my fingers cannot.
Putting it in there is just impossible for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, some people have it and some people don't. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's kind of like, dude, I've met people, like, some people just pick up on stuff insanely quick. Like,
yeah.
Benji, do you remember Pixie, who
I
used
do
to
remember
play
Pixie.
in
Yeah,
Havoc? Do you know, like, what his total hours are in Rocket League? Like, ever?
no,
Like, 600.
yeah,
And he was, like, at one point in time, was, like, in the top of Havoc. And, like, it, again, has been, like, a Grand Champ player for, like, a long time. And has, like, 600 hours in the game. Like, that is bonkers to me, dude. I don't understand how people pick up on stuff that quickly and excel. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm getting older now. I'm in the entering the geriatric stage of Rocket League players, being 24. I'm like phasing out
feel
into
that.
like I physically cannot compete anymore with these young kids, man. There's something about it. It's just the kids like we know this like pick up new skills and abilities significantly faster than adults
Yeah,
do. They just have that ability, and then some kids on top of that just are innately good at Rocket League from picking up a controller.